What's going on, and good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our latest edition of Raiders Latest News, as we bring you the latest Raiders news. I don't know, those of you that watched, maybe you guys have watched VeggieTales growing up, but there's a song where it's Silly Songs with Larry. That's kind of what this name reminds me of. It's Raiders Latest News because it's Raiders Latest News. Silly Songs with Larry because it's where Larry sings a silly song. Anyway, probably a little bit G-rated for some of those of you getting up early like us. But overall, this beautiful Wednesday morning, it's Hump Day. That was a really good commercial back in the day. I'm sorry, guys. I have to get refocused here. But so the Raiders have really begun their GM interview process, and it's getting pretty dicey. So the latest one is coming down from ESPN and all of them. Sheldon White from the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he is and has been involved in the Steelers by being the director of pro personnel, and it makes a lot of sense. So here's the updated list, by the way. So you've got John Spytek, who is the Bucs assistant GM. You've got John Eric Sullivan, who is the Packers vice president of player personnel, and then Sheldon White, the Steelers director of pro personnel. So a lot of successful organizations in this one. I think that from what I've seen, John Spytek is the front runner right now, which I think would make a lot of sense, especially with what he's done with Baker Mayfield, surrounding that roster and just keeping them competitive over the last couple of years and everything. Also, obviously, his tie-ins with Tom Brady and all that would be big. John Eric Sullivan and the Packers, always competitive, always finding quarterbacks, and always able to make this thing interesting. And then finally, there is Sheldon White, where I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing from all three of these guys is that they're all able to compete, or all three teams were able to compete with quarterbacks not named Patrick Mahomes. And that's impressive. I think that definitely does warrant and is interesting for guys like Tom Brady and company, where build this team around winning and not necessarily who the quarterback is. And I think you'll be fine there. And so speaking of the whole offseason program, so Ben Johnson I think is kind of also the front runner, and Ian Rappaport has come out, and obviously there's been a lot of speculation about Ben Johnson, and right now it is said that couple of different things. Actually, we'll get into Ian Rappaport here in a second. Great. Good job, Colton. So Ben Johnson, multiple reports coming out saying that he is the front runner for the Raiders head coaching job, as well as he wants the Raiders head coaching job because he, quote unquote, does not want to coach against Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions, or at least be in the same division as them. Now, there's a couple different things here. Obviously, Dan Campbell gave him his start as the offensive coordinator, so I think it would make sense that he doesn't want to compete against him for that regard. But if this is because you're afraid, I don't think he's afraid of anybody, and we'll get into that here in a second. I think that would be cowardice, horrible. But overall, I think that it's more of a respect thing for Ben Johnson coming at from that angle as opposed to it being a cowardice. So I definitely think that is it. Speaking of the cowardice aspect, so like we were mentioning and alluding to Ian Rappaport earlier, talking about Ben Johnson and the potentially being the next Raiders head coach, came out on a report saying that it's not a surefire thing that he's going to, accept the job. Well, no duh. I think that it really comes down to if it's the best fit for him and his family, as well as if he thinks it's a good move for his career. However, Rappaport coming out and saying something that I don't necessarily agree with. So basically come out and saying that because Ben Johnson will potentially be in the same division with head coaches like Jim Harbaugh, like Andy Reid, and also Sean Payton. And the quarterbacks too. That's another thing they mentioned. So Justin Herbert, Bo Nix, and Patrick Mahomes. He's going to be getting a division with those quarterbacks and head coaches. I don't think Ben Johnson gives a damn, and if he does, I don't want him as the GM or as the head coach, of the Las Vegas Raiders. Because if you care more about what's in your division as opposed to your coaching abilities and taking the easy route, I don't know what to tell you. I think that obviously this is more of just Ian Rappaport, just kind of coming out and reporting as it is like right now. But I don't think Ben Johnson fears anybody. And I don't think that he is worried about who's in division and obviously all the speculation and stuff. I don't think he gives a damn. And like I said, if he does, I don't want him. I think that as a head coach in the NFL, you have to be a savage. You have to be in the mindset that you don't care who you're going up against. Even if you're in your first year, yes, you might lose it and absolutely just crap the bed and not get the job done and get past. You might go 4-13 your first year. Okay. As opposed to taking the easy way out and going 12-5, 13-4, making the playoffs and losing in the first round, that's really better? Like, no. I think that Ben Johnson is a competitor. I think that he would want to go on the other opposite end of the spectrum where the Raiders don't have a top 3 pick. They are in a position where it's going to be really tough to bring in a new franchise quarterback, and this is a tougher puzzle to solve. Because you don't have a franchise quarterback, you don't have a top 3 overall pick, and you really are in a really tough division. Guess what? It's the NFL. No one gives a damn. And so I'm really just ready for them to hire their guy and their GM and just to kind of go from there, because I think that the notion that Ben Johnson cares about who's in his division, whether it be a head coach or a quarterback, it's blasphemous if you ask me. And so if he is, don't want him. I want a head coach that's going to come in here. Maybe he will go 4-13 in his first year, but at least he wants the job and he wants to be here. That's what it comes down to. And so, again, I really have a lot of respect for going and getting what you want and finding a way to compete no matter what the circumstances are. And I think that Ben Johnson, it would behoove himself. And that's another thing too. If he were to get and accept the Raiders head coaching job, which he should, do we really think that if he went 10-7, 11-6 in his first year, that we would not be jumping through the roof for this guy? Really? Like, you would be a legend. For those of you that watch How I Met Your Mother, wait for it, legend. No, dang, I already screwed it up. Legend, wait for it, Derry. Like, this guy would be a legend for going 11-6 and 12-5 in his first year with the Raiders. I'd be highly unlikely, because he's got to get all of his guys in and everything. But if that were to happen, we would carry this guy out on our shoulders for the rest. He would not walk anywhere. And so I just really feel like this whole notion of Ben Johnson and everything, it just grinds my gears. I really feel like the Raiders are in a spot where, yeah, they're probably not going to have the most interest around the league, but I don't care. Get somebody in that wants to be here. Get somebody in here that wants to win and assemble a team, and let's go from there. So, but yeah, that's it just made me sick. Other Raiders news. So Max Crosby in on the process for rehabilitation and everything, and I think that it's been one of those things where things have been going good for him, and that's really good to see. Going to be really good to get him back whenever he does come back. Now, I also know that we did come out and say that he's a trade candidate, which I get for some of those of you that were upset with us by that. But hey, at the end of the day, I love Mad Max. I hope that he's 100% and ready to go next year, and really does lead a Raiders charge. And so that's really all I got, though, to kind of really start things out here on this beautiful Wednesday. Raiders' latest news, the GM news. We'll see how things really fall here in the next couple of weeks, and see where the Raiders really land with this whole thing. But overall, let us know what you guys think about our latest Raiders news for Wednesday, January 15th. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll continue to bring you the latest news for the Raiders, as well as all of the news surrounding their new GM and head coach. But have a great day, and we'll see you on the next video.